So, Christian, thank you so much for coming on to the show. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good, good. And where are you? What part of the world are you dialing in from today?
Yeah, I live in Reedley, California. Well, yeah, North America, West
Okay,
Coast. Yeah.
nice. I'd say I'd say the weather is moderately warm over there at the moment.
Actually, in the Central Valley, it's actually pretty cool out here. It's been kind of like in the 50s, like lower 50 or upper 50s, kind of like low 60s. So it's actually been kind of cool. Fahrenheit.
Okay.
So,
All right. Yeah, I was gonna say.
yeah, yeah, Celsius Fahrenheit.
Yeah, that's quite warm for where we are. But no,
Yeah.
completely understandable. Yeah, over here, it's well, Ireland is normally predominantly cold, even in the summer, but it's also quite dark at the moment. It gets dark around here about 5, so it's a
Mm.
nice contrast from where we are, which is great. So we have you on the show today to talk about your upcoming TV series, Zack in Time. But
Mm.
what I like to do as part of this is before we jump straight into talking about it, maybe get a little bit of background about you. So can you talk to us maybe about how you got into animation?
Yeah, definitely. I've always loved animation ever since I was a little kid. I would just like watch so many cartoons. I love Nickelodeon, Cartoon Network, Disney Channel. I was obsessed. Um, and I just kind of I would always like draw all the time. Like even like during school, I'd be drawing little comic books instead of paying attention to the lesson.
Yeah,
Um,
as you do.
yeah, exactly. And then eventually my parents were like, okay, you just kind of need to filter all this into something kind of creative or kind of
Yeah.
constructive. So I kind of on the side I would kind of like do my own kind of like little comic books and animations and things like that. And it kind of just kind of grew from there. I just I love movies and TV shows and just storytelling and things like that. And just kind of just built and built from there. So yeah, I've always just kind of loved animation as a medium.
Okay, wow. And when you were saying, trying out, I think that's something a lot of people can relate to is, that kind of doodling. And there's always that, that bottom page of like your copybook or whatever that you can flip through sometimes as well. Did you have, as a kid, did you have any kind of experience with animating in terms of like, were you using any software or like a camera to take pictures of things you were drawing, or was it more kind of like comic book, like still images?
Yeah, it was definitely very, very unprofessional comic book, just still images.
Nice.
I've never actually really trained on an animation program. I took like one semester of animation in college, but it definitely wasn't. It was very like basic level. But I've always
Okay.
been just like kind of like more like hand drawn sketching, things like that. And I just get like uh, a notepad or some colored pencils and just kind of draw that
Brilliant.
way.
Okay.
Mm.
No, I think that's great because it's nice to get. I think the great thing about animation is that it's so varied in terms of like you don't have to be, it sounds silly to say you don't have to be an animator to be an animation, it's an obvious
Mm.
statement. But the idea that you can be, coming in this, a lot of people who start by drawing and actually animating and stuff. Whereas I like that you're coming at it from the kind of more illustration side, obviously having
Mm.
an idea, but kind of like writer director kind of side of things. And you were talking about films and TV shows in there. Do you have any? I always like to ask people, do you have any favorite films that spring to mind? Always a tough question.
Oh no, no, not tough at all. I'm a huge fan of like Phil Lord and Chris Miller, Lego Movie, Spider-Man
Wow.
into the Spider-Verse, like anything they touch, like I'm always into, because I just love how they balance like comedy, action, and heart. Like you just like every time you watch those movies, you get like a full spectrum of emotion. I
Yeah.
love them. I grew up watching Butch Hartman a lot, like Fairly Odd Parents. Danny Phantom was a huge inspiration for me.
Yes.
Love that show. Still doing fan art for that show to
Oh
this
wow.
day.
Okay.
And and probably Avatar: The Last Airbender is another huge inspiration for me as well.
Okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
and SpongeBob. Gotta mention SpongeBob.
Yeah. Oh
Love
God.
that show
Yeah.
too.
I have to say, SpongeBob. I've read some crazy fact about it the other day, where it was like the second longest running animated TV show or something, like behind The Simpsons. Something crazy where
Yeah.
you kind of think to
Mhm.
yourself, like, geez, has it actually been out that long? And when you think back to when it first came out, it really has just endured for something like completely
Yeah.
wacky and original.
Mm.
Okay, brilliant. And yeah, you were saying about Phil Lord and Chris Miller as well. I remember for ages, I never really kind of knew their name. I obviously knew their work, like I loved the Lego movie, but now I think it's become a point where you see their name attached to something and I
Mm.
think you kind of get excited. You have a
Yeah.
high expectations
Mhm.
for their work, but a lot of the time they do deliver. So, okay,
Mhm.
great.
Now it's gonna be